spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I can go for broke, but the capital is in me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I can go for broke, but the capital is in me.
Welcome, everyone, to District Divided, a DC sports podcast, more specifically, a Washington Commanders podcast. I am Amit. That is KDot. This episode, we got an all-22 breakdown for you, courtesy of KDot. He's going to walk us through what he found from the all-22, some takeaways over there, and then, of course, it's the game preview. Believe it or not, this is the first time Jayden Daniels is going to be playing at, well, Northwest Field now, but formerly known as FedEx Field. He's going to be playing in front of a home crowd for the first time ever in his pro career. So we're going to talk about the game. We're going to give you our predictions, bet of the week, comment mailbag, as we always do in the After the Pod. But before we begin the episode, if you could please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, comment as you always do, and KDot,
live a life of money and war, and then share this shit. Share it.
Share this shit. We greatly appreciate it, guys, as always. Without further ado, hey, we played a game last week. And so KDot went in there, went into the film room, dove right on in and said, hey, what the fuck happened? Let's figure it out. So KDot, over to you. The floor is all yours.
All right. I hate how much pressure you're putting this segment on me. God damn it. Last thing I need is a coach in the fucking comment.
District divided community. The district divided community thinks very highly of you.
But also, I got to realize, as far as the monetization part of it, I know I can't talk about the Bolivian snow that you love so much anymore. But I still understand the cursing thing. I see some YouTubers say you're not supposed to curse if you want to monetize. I don't know. I'm trying to be me.
I think you can. I think you can. Come on. We'll find out.
All right, on 22. Yeah, I watched basically. It took forever. Watch 22. And so what I try to do is like break it down the segments. Like, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna do one read through, and I'm just gonna focus on Jayden. Then I was like, all right, I'm gonna do another one. I'm just gonna focus as best as I can on the offensive line. Then I'm gonna take a look at all the running backs and the line. I'm just gonna try, and I'm gonna notate everything, whatever. So, yeah, let's start with the thing that's bringing us all here this year, the thing that's got us hyped, the thing that might have the stadium fucking packed, which also Northwest Stadium is always weird. It's a weird name to me. I think it's Northwest DC. Well, it's just so weird.
From the quadrant perspective, I still think it should be called the Fed. Right? It is a federal credit union. I think calling it the Fed makes sense.
I agree.
So anyway, that's always been my thought.
It's weird. It's just like knowing the quadrants and knowing like I'm a Northwest kid, but it's like
yeah.
Jayden Daniels. So, there was a lot as far as Jayden went. I mean, after watching the tape, it kind of reiterated some things that I thought when we were watching the game itself. So there's not like a huge number of takeaways, but what it feels as though I'm calling his style of play so far calm chaos. And the reason I'm calling it calm chaos is, unlike a few rookies, there's not really indecisiveness happening with Jayden, which I like, right? I like the fact that it seems as though he has a good idea of what it is he's going to do. He never looks panicked. He never looks, but everything feels so sped up. Like as far as what he's doing, as far as making this progression before he decides like, hey, I'm going to run.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, okay.
Did that have to do with playing a Todd Bowles very aggressive style defense?
Todd Bowles brought everything. I mean, there was a lot of different blitzes, and they were very interesting looking blitzes. I'll tell you that much. But like the amount of plays that they were at least bringing 5 guys was a lot. It was a lot. But the thing is that like, I think there's an element of that, but it's an element going back to some of the criticisms I have for Jayden back when he was in college, right? Which is that, and something I thought he might do when he's in the league, which is like, when he realizes in his brain that he's going to take off based on whatever the blitz is that he's reading, you can see he'll make the read. Like he'll go through his first progression. If it's not there, there's no sitting back, patting the ball. There's no waiting for the sack to be. He's like, I can do this. I'm pretty good at doing this. I'm going to outrun you fuckers. And it just goes and does it. It goes and does it. It brings a lot of plays that would have potentially, it's the cost benefit analysis almost with it, right? Is like, to a certain degree, you kind of don't want to do that, even though it makes it a positive play. It doesn't fit within the confines of what it is they're trying to do offensively. And it also doesn't allow them to build or stack up plays offensively that really point us in the right direction of like the offense is moving cohesively together or he's learning properly, right? Look, we're in this stage right now where he kind of should be throwing some picks, where he kind of should be taking some sacks. Like you're not wishing for, and that's the thing that's so weird about like, how do you teach that to somebody? When instinctively he wants to make the play, and a lot of times he makes the play, and he goes and he gets a first down, and he makes this run for this, that, and the other, right? But there were so many times when you're watching the tape, if he had sat there for a little bit longer, just a little bit longer, or made his full read throughout it is what he was supposed to do, there are receivers open a lot in the offense.
So points for Cliff in that case.
So there was, I mean, once again, it's a mixed bag across the board for a lot of guys. Cause like there were some elements of the wide receivers kind of being bunched up a bit where it was like, but then you're looking at that and you're like, all right, well, I'm looking at that play, but Jayden took off and I'm not even sure if they finished out their routes before. Okay. But it does feel sometimes as though there's some lanes that are kind of clogged. He has receivers kind of stacked on top of each other. There's not as much separation as you'd like to see sometimes, but there are absolutely plays that Jayden could have made. When you're looking at like, all right, if you had made your reads and went through your progressions, there were guys that are clearly open. But once again, he's not waiting for that. He sees, or he thinks in his head, it feels as though he thinks in his head, hey, they're coming. I know they're coming. The first read didn't work. There's daylight there. I think I'm going to take the daylight. I'm going to take the defense to give me. I'm just going to do it, right? But it's like, yeah, you got to sit back there and do it. There were, even Dan Quinn said it in the press conference when they were asking him about it. It was like, there are some moments where it's not necessarily even like you got to stay in the pocket, but there's room for you to run around outside the pocket and still be looking downfield to throw the football. There's room to do things, but he just goes with the gut instinct that he has to just take off because he's naturally. I mean, the thing is, like, I thought there would be a concern at like the level from college to the pros in the sense of like, hey, the defense is not as fast as you, or it's not as fast as you think, or it's faster than you think, so they're going to catch up. He still looks like the best.
He's still the fastest guy.
He's still the fastest guy.
Which is cool.
But that's one of the things that'll kind of lull you to something, right? It's like, but there's the other thing is like, this is exactly what happened at LSU with him. So people recall back at LSU, they went on this like 5-0 run. And everybody was just eating it up. Media was praising Jayden. He wasn't throwing any picks. Everything was looking great. But then they talked to Brian Kelly, and he was like, he honestly said, I kind of wish he would throw an interception. I kind of wish he would get sacked. He's not. He's making the play, but it's not. This is not what he's supposed to be doing as far as making the progress. And then he had the game against Tennessee, and they lost, and it was more. And it was like, it was one of those things where you look at Jayden, it's like, you needed that loss. You needed that rough game in order to really do what you need to do to take the next step. But it's also like, well, if I just let him run around and do his thing, would we have won that game? I don't know.
Your trade-off, right?
And that's the thing. But it's like, if he can combine this decision-making with a little more patience, the sky's the limit. That's the thing that scares me almost on behalf of the rest of the league. It makes me super excited, is that like, regardless of whatever was happening, he still never looked rattled. And everything looked like it was, yeah, this is my choice. I'm making this choice. I'm going to do it.
That's why he was, I mean, that was one of the reasons he was my number one guy, is because I felt, first off, the ball placement, I've said it many, many times. He missed to Terry, and I'm sure maybe we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But his ball placement, to me, was excellent all through college. It got better and better as well. And then his athleticism, you can't teach it. And if he can keep his eyes downfield as he's rolling or as he's scrambling for a moment, maybe something opens up. He becomes, in my eyes, damn near unstoppable. I think that's what gives him the highest ceiling to me amongst this crop. But we'll see. Anyway, sorry.
No, you're good. I like this. Yeah, please break it out. So even when you're talking about like the missed Terry or like the first play of the game, the bad
it went backwards. It's a 15-yard loss.
Preseason, you remember we were looking at his first throws, and it's like he seems calm, but he is sped up in his head. Like there is a metal of like, dude, like take melatonin before the game or some shit, right? Like just calm down. Like it's good. The fact that he knows like this is what I want to go do is great. Now, when you talk about like outside of Jayden, when you look at like the offensive line, another thing, complete mixed bag. There were some plays in which it was like absolutely they got blown the fuck up, whether it be Wiley, Coleman at times. Everybody got a little taste of something at some point that I could see in this game. It just looks like a unit that just hasn't played together for too long, and they're still trying to figure out exactly what's what. And when you got a guy like Jayden behind you, just take it off immediately. I can understand for an offensive lineman, it's kind of hard to figure out, especially if you're not used to it, like what that looks like or what it is you need to do. Yeah. So offensive line, it's just like, yeah, they need to play better than they played. And we'll talk about that when it comes to the Giants. You cannot play the way that they played that game and think that it's going to be okay. Jayden makes up for some of the deficit when it comes to the O-line, but I will also say the offensive line, in my opinion, if I was grading overall everything I saw, did enough for Jayden to make more plays downfield. That's
good to know, because the national perception of our line is it is an absolute dumpster fire, cannot hold up at all.
Every once in a while you look at a play, you'd be like, yeah, that's accurate. It's like,
sure.
But it wasn't the whole story.
But that it's consistently a dumpster fire, I'm glad you're pushing back on, because I think locally we understand that, yeah, it's of course a work in progress, can be better, but it's also doable. We talked about potentially having an average offensive line and that actually being excellent depending on what you have around. So go ahead.
That's the thing, is like when you watch like football over the course of week 1, we saw guys like Brock Purdy and Matt Stafford. Dudes that you see, they know they're going to get blown up. They know it, but they're going to wait to throw the ball to give that guy their chance, and it works out. Jay needs a little bit of that. It's a little bit of like, hey, I understand we don't want you to take a sack. I understand we don't want you getting hit, but you got to stand in there and deliver the fucking football to Terry. You got to stand in there and deliver the ball to Brown. You got to stand up in there and just do it.
Be a quarterback.
You got to do that. And the thing is, like, he has the tools. You can see it. There's a lot of like really good that you saw. But once again, the offensive line overall, there was enough times that they gave him enough time, in my opinion, to throw. And I know people have been looking at the numbers that like how much time he had to throw or how much time he had to do this. All those numbers have so many different variations or degrees in which like they're counting it. Like, I don't even know sometimes what it is that they call a pressure. I don't even know what it is that they define as far as
websites. Yeah, they all have different numbers, definitions. Yeah.
So it's just like, to me, it's like I'm looking and I'm like, oh, you've got space to move around in there. Oh, you could have stepped up in the pocket. Oh, yep, you could have ran outside the pocket. You had all sorts of daylight and room to throw for a first down on that. Or they just need another half a second, dude. They could have done it. As far as the running backs go, I think we got 2 dudes. I think we legit have 2 dudes. Look, I know the average wasn't great, but that goes back into offensively, they couldn't really sustain anything other than times they got into that hurry up. And with the hurry up, to me, the thing that, like, when looking at Cliff in the offense schematically, when they would go to 21 personnel and they had Ekeler and Robinson on the field at the same time, injected in my veins.
More of that.
Bro. Eckler's a hell of a blocker. And he blocks downfield. And Robinson is just full of nothing but fucking piss and vinegar. He just loves it. Like,
you can't bring him down,
dude. I'm
in the
telling
open field. Yeah.
When they have both of those guys lined up and they switch out, like, all right, who's gonna be like more fullback, who's gonna be, are they split out, whatever? It is a matchup nightmare. Like, I can't wait to see more of that. I hope they go back to that. Other things, as far as looking at from a Cliff standpoint, you could see certain elements of Cliff, like from his days of just whatever it is that he's had offenses as far as like Arizona and stuff. But there were also some other interesting stuff that I saw, which was you could see some play action concepts and some of the run concepts that really looked like they were out of the Shanahan tree. And this is where you think the Anthony Lynn influence is kind of getting in. But like, there were literally plays that I was like, that looks like something that they ran in Houston with like Bobby Slowick. And you see there's just this combination of these different packages that he has in. I still think Cliff's getting a feel for stuff. It does feel like he's just kind of mad scientist experimenting with stuff. I did see over the course of the game, it's not that they like changed up things dramatically, but it was like, all right, let's give a little bit more of this. Let's introduce a little bit more of this. And I think as time goes on and he realizes who's comfortable with and what Jayden's comfortable with, I think it'll be really interesting to see how it is he leverages those packages. There's a lot of things that like need to be set up to really work properly, right? You got to set the running game properly to get play action to work the way you want it to. But how it is you do that? What looks are you giving them? Who's on the field at that particular point in time? It's just you could see there's a lot of experimenting going on, and it's like everybody's just trying to get a feel for each other. Yeah. And yeah, you see both gap and counter schemes as far as the running games. There's a lot of stuff, and also running the counter with the RPO. Like there's some stuff that's happening where it's like, all right, you can definitely see there's an amalgamation of some things happening as far as the offense.
So to echo what the broadcast was saying, Cliff was keeping it a buck with us saying, hey, we are still figuring it out. What pieces do we have? What works well? Maybe this 21 personnel is something we do more of. Maybe going into empty is something we do more of. Who knows? So I've got Jayden Daniels. Calm chaos is the term that we're using. He should be taking more chances, maybe a few more interceptions. Not bad for his development because we know he's staying in the pocket, trying something, right?
Right.
And then being more patient in there, maybe taking the hit to allow his receiver to get more open. Mixed bag on the offensive line. We'll see how that continues to shake out, but better than, maybe national perception. Running backs, we got some dudes between Brian Robinson and Austin Ekeler. Would love to see more 21 personnel, and Cliff figuring it out still. That's what it sounds like. Sounds like a lot of week one stuff.
Very much so. It was just, it was a lot of week one, just sloppiness. One last point on the offensive line. Brandon Coleman. Once again, mixed bag grade for a lot of these guys, everybody across the board. There were some moments in Coleman that you could see that he leaped off the tape. From an athleticism standpoint,
that raw athletic score was very high for him. You'll notice.
Starting to make sense. Like, look, this is not me comparing. Like, there's only one of these guys, but when you see like Trent Williams in space,
I knew you were gonna do it. Go ahead.
But like when you see him in space, like doing, and then you look, there was a run. I know it went viral for a little bit. I saw the clip on Twitter after I was watching the All 22 of Coleman stride for stride keeping up with Jayden. It was like,
which is amazing, right?
It's like. But you just see this massive motherfucker, and it's like, who is that? You're like, oh, it's Coleman. And it's like, there could be some interest. What it is they decide to do as far as the overall run on the offensive line. Lucas had his moments of probably looking more consistent than some of the other guys, especially Wiley. Wiley had some bad looks.
Lucas had a great passing grade according to PFF. Pass block
Lucas
grade.
didn't look bad, but
okay.
Lucas and Coleman need to be on the field same time. And I think one of them going to right tackle and potentially, if Wiley continues to play at the level of inconsistency that he's playing at, I'd like to see one of those two guys take his spot.
And Wiley did have, I think, one other flag during this game, maybe a couple, I can't remember, but he had one in Miami also in the preseason. So that's what KDot's talking about.
And then the one other thing was Ekeler. From what I could see, it might have been Ekeler, it might have been the offensive line, it might have been what's his name, Tyler Biotish, but I think it was Ekeler just straight up miss
chip him. Like at the very least, I remember that play being like, "What the heck."
But you see, it's almost like it was like a matador with a bull. He turns around and looks, and that's what it, to me gave the way. It was like, that was your assignment. And he just fucked it up. Once again, week one shit.
So that's the offense. Let's go ahead and talk about the defense, KDot.
Fuck me.
Florida Heat.
So that is my number one thing, is that from what I could see week one, and this is something that there are certain things when it comes to the season starting that everybody always forgets. We always have this bit of amnesia before NFL season starts. Number one is don't overreact to anything you see week one. That's like rule number one. Rule number two, the Cincinnati Bengals are going to suck the first few weeks. The rule number three, it really sucks to play in Florida in September. Like, it really fucking sucks. And I think that's what I was seeing, was that, like, I saw guys trying, but I saw dudes that just looked like they didn't have anything left in the tank. And I think that's what you see with the defensive line, which is like the pressure did look good at moments. Like, it looked really decent. And then Baker could just slip out, or they just would never finish it. The tackling was like off. And I don't think it was like, I really do think that from a conditioning standpoint, these guys just weren't there. I mean, you look at like Bobby Wagner didn't play any of the preseason, right? Like
he admitted as much. I just wanted to say, I think he was talking to Lake Lewis or some reporter, and he basically was like, hey, maybe I should have played a preseason game because I was gassed, and it looked like it on film as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, even Trent Williams had to go in for an IV during his game, and it definitely wasn't fucking Florida, right? So, like, there is an element to it. Just looked like they were fucking miserable, And I get it. I don't want to walk to a store in Florida, let alone play a fucking football game.
And Tampa has won 4 straight openers now. I don't know how many of them were at home, but just to speak to the Florida Heat, right?
It's like I was talking to Brennan about this. It was like Aaron Rodgers' record in Florida early in the season is like abysmal. Like it's just one of those things where it's like, no, it's something. It's real. Something. It's a real thing. It's akin to having to play in fucking Buffalo or Chicago in the winter, right? Like they've taken full advantage of what it is they have, and they got it. Defense. So like, yeah, that's the thing. So like when I look at the linebackers, there's definitely things that I think were more conditioning things. When I looked at Jonathan Allen, I thought that it was a conditioning thing. I know that a lot of people have been harping on Allen. Yeah, I mean, if there was anybody, Payne looked like he absolutely outplayed John Allen. There were moments where Frankie Louvu, I just thought schematically what they were doing on offense, anytime that they saw him lined up, they just sort of went to the opposite side. So he just didn't get a lot of opportunities in the first place.
Interesting.
Which to me was like either, all right, were they purposely like keeping it away from Louvu? Was he a dude that would scare them? Because like Louvu had some good moments in the game. It was just, he didn't have a lot of them. The other thing was like the corners looked like they just weren't communicating properly. It felt as though a little bit of a throwback to what you saw last season in the sense of it was just kind of like missed, blown coverages. A lot of like me watching the tape, honestly, and once again, I'm not some pro when it comes to this shit, but like I did see a lot of moments in the game where I'm just like, I don't know who's responsible for who. Like I legit just don't know. And I don't think the guys knew. I think I did hear somebody talk about that after the game. I forget who it was, but they were like, we need to communicate more.
St. Juice said that. And Joe Witt Jr. said as much in his press conference saying, hey,
you could see it.
Communication, and that falls on me. And I really appreciated the ownership. It's also a quick accountability thing for Cliff and Joe that they both seem to take accountability for their guys, which is refreshing considering what we had in the past. Go ahead.
No doubt. And and to me, there were some things that like, look, I know defensively, you look at the score, you look at what Baker Mayfield is going to do, and you're like, how can you really have any positives from it? I'll tell you this. If it was a lesser team and they played with maybe if they had a little more stamina, that's a 5 or 6 sack game. Like they were there.
Yeah.
They were there in position. Like it was like you can see if they continue on a trend of like if the defensive backs can communicate, at least get on the same page. Because there was just like that was the thing. I didn't see anybody just getting like completely outmatched athletically, other than like the St. Juice Mike Evans play, which was like, what the fuck?
We talked about how great that was just from a pure football standpoint.
It just looked nuts. But the idea of like, I didn't see anybody look like. And trust me, like I'm trying to be a little kind of Forbes because he did stand out as like not looking.
And he is going to now have surgery, so who knows when he hurt his thumb during that whole thing.
But to me, the biggest thing that I took away from the defense was that this feels like a very the mistakes that I was seeing seemed coachable. That's
great.
So like I'm putting the pressure on them. Like this is supposed to be what these guys do is be able to coach and communicate.
Oh, when we talk about this Giants game, we're going to talk about the coaching staff for sure.
So that's got to be a thing. Like I would say, like the conditioning, it being week 1, never really take a whole lot out of week 1. But the linebackers and the defensive line actually look like they could accomplish something. Also, Mike Sanders still, he was in a lot of tape. And the thing with it is that when I was honestly looking at it, I didn't know if he was actually supposed to be there, if he was just trying hard and he was there at the end of it.
Covering for others, maybe?
To a certain degree. So, like, even the McMillan touchdown, and you see the last person closest to him is Sanders still. But it does look, at least at the beginning, that it wasn't Sanders still's guy. That was supposed to be Quan Martin that I think took him, from what I remember correctly. And they were supposed to switch off, and they didn't. And then it's blown. And then you see Sanders still trying to make up for it with effort, but it's already blown.
Gone.
So, like, there's a lot of Sanders still like in a play, or a lot of Sanders still it looks like he gets beat. But when I'm looking at things, at least initially on spec, I don't even know if that's his assignment.
Got it.
So like it's if you watch the defensive backs, it looks messy.
So if I could sum up the defense, then it sounds like the defensive line, if we were to play a lesser team, they were gassed. Let's start there. Florida Heat, I think the guys are going through conditioning. I remember, I forgot who tweeted this, but I ended up, defending Bobby Wagner, at least in our tweet, where, by the way, that's what we did, KDot, on the District Divided account, where Bobby Wagner on one of the screenplays is sort of jogging, and he's like trying to get there.
It doesn't look good.
Yeah, and it doesn't look good. And I also was like, well, I don't remember when in the game this happened, but I wonder if this comes down to conditioning. He's an older guy now, and it's game 1, and it's in Florida. And so that clearly plays a role. And he even said so after the game a couple days later. Linebackers, same thing. They went opposite Frankie Louvu's side. And you're wondering if that was a schematic thing, if that was a concept that Tampa ran with. And then the corners, miscommunications in the secondary. But this is a coachable unit overall.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, and that's once again, what I saw was coachable. I still do think there's a talent discrepancy. Don't get me wrong. Compared to who it is they were playing. I'm not in any denial on that. Yeah. I'm just saying that what I could see, if they could communicate better, they could have made up for a lot of this stuff. And the thing is, like, that little bit of communication, that little bit of, like, it's not a blown coverage. They have it. Baker doesn't throw the ball as soon as he does. If he doesn't throw the ball as soon as he does, what do you have? Potentially a sack. So, like, the defense working together, like, it's just that thing.
Fair enough. Cool. No, I appreciate the all 22 review and takeaway there. Any final thoughts before we move on to this preview?
No.
All right.
We'll talk about it in the preview. Yeah.
Sounds good. Let's go ahead and get into the preview in that case. Thank you very much, KDot, for all the insight that you had watching it and answering the questions, and looking forward to hearing the comments for others that also saw the all 22 or want to react to what KDot said over there. We're playing the New York Giants, who are currently... They lost their first game 28-6 to Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings. And so they have been a bit of a laughing stock, and so has Daniel Jones. We'll get into that because it doesn't necessarily translate to when he plays against us. So we'll get there in a moment. Let's go ahead and begin with the injury report. Let's provide context for this game, right?
You want the Giants or the Commanders first?
Let's go ahead and go to the Giants immediately. Okay. So if you look at the Giants, that's Nick McLeod. And by the way, he is a starter for them. He has not practiced the last couple of days. Then you have Darius Musow, who had the interception, by the way, for them against the Vikings. And then there's Gunner, who is a special teams guy primarily. Malik Nabers popped up with a knee injury. He's limited. Fully expect him to play, though. Darius Slayton in concussion protocol, limited. We'll see if he ends up playing. And then Micah McFadden, full participant, should be just fine. Looking at the Commanders now, the big news is that Emmanuel Forbes did injure his thumb. Yes, he's limited, but there were videos of him at practice messing around with the thumb going, hey, what the heck's going on? He's going to have surgery. Initial reports are out 4 to 6 weeks. You could see him go to IR. We will see. Johnny Newton, limited participant in practice. Honestly, KDot, I don't expect him to go. We'll see. Yeah. Brandon Coleman, full participant both days. He's on track to play. Tyler Owens, full participant. Brian Robinson Jr., I'm sure, is fine. Full participant. Yes, it's a knee, but full participant. And Trent Scott, full participant. So that's going to be your context for this game. Now let's go ahead and talk about the Commanders' offense, right? Once again, why we're here this season. Jayden Daniels and this Commanders' offense against the Giants defense. So the Giants defense, of course, didn't do that well. You saw that Sam Darnold started off red hot in his season. I think he even began this game either 12 of 12 or 17 of 17 or something like that. Like he was on one. KDot, if you would, can you pull up Sam Darnold's chart and where he went with the football, please? Thank you very much. Cool. So you're going to notice a hell of a lot of green on the right side, right? A lot. And that includes the number of dots. And if you look at the number of dots on the left side, you see he had that really deep completion. I'm sure some of you guys saw it. That was to Justin Jefferson. But it's primarily to the right. And the reason I want to highlight that is because Terry McLaurin was lined up on the left side more than anybody else in the NFL, right? And so we talk about wanting to get Terry the ball more. Is Cliff going to move Terry to the right now and then to try and get him going because that right side looks like you can abuse it? Now, why is that? So Deonte Banks, who is their number one corner right now for the Giants, first round pick last year, he said, fuck the Commanders. You remember all that. He is probably going to be on Terry, and he's going to be their right corner. On the other side, you got some youth, you got some inexperience. There's Drew Phillips is going to be the slot corner. He's a 3rd round pick for them this year. Tyler Nubin's a 2nd round pick for them this year. They're both starters. They're both rookies. So you could potentially take advantage of that. Then you got Nick McLeod, who has missed the last couple practices. Is he going to play? He was picked up. He's new to the secondary. He comes from Buffalo. And then there's Cordell Flott, who is right behind him, and he was getting torched during that game. So the right side made a lot of sense. That makes me think, KDot, that if we choose to keep Terry on the left, I think Dyami Brown could actually have a nice game. You think about Jayden's first deep ball, right, in preseason. It was to Dyami Brown, and it was on the right side. I think we could potentially see that. I think this could be a Dyami Brown game. Get him involved. He didn't have any targets last week, but people like the connection between the two. I could see that being a thing. And then we talked about it a lot, KDot, running the ball. You love the 21 personnel. I would love to see these guys have more carries combined than Jayden has. What are your thoughts on some of that? And then what else are you thinking, KDot?
First off, interesting as far as the passing chart for Sam Darnold on the right side. Insightful. Maybe that will actually play a good moment. I know your best bet's kind of leaning that way, so maybe I'm going to follow you into that. Sure. But yeah, I mean, if I'm looking at the Giants' defense overall, disappointing as shit game against the Vikings. Look, they are, like you said, a laughing stock right now. And I think that they're in that situation where it's either like it's going to be a dumpster fire or what are they going to do to kind of bounce back from it? Aaron Jones ran for 6.7 yards a carry against them last week. This to me means, yeah, dial up the fucking runs, baby. Like, this is what we need to do. Like, that. The thing is, like, you look at the Tampa Bay defense and what it is they were able to do. A big part of it was Todd Bowles and what he was able to do as far as dialing up blitz packages that I know goddamn well Jayden Daniels has never seen in his life, right? Like, yeah, like that's what the game plan was. This Giants defense right now is not necessarily that. They're much more of a bend but don't break defense. They play more conservatively. They're not going to bring a whole bunch of rush, but it's also because what it is they think they have on that defensive line, which is where I think the key to this game is. Defensive line-wise, if we're looking at from a pure talent standpoint on papers, through the roof. You got Dexter Lawrence there in the middle. The dude is in that conversation. If you watch him play or you watch his tape, he's in that Chris Jones, not quite Aaron Donald, like game wrecker. Holy shit, what is this dude capable of?
He could be the best nose tackle in the league.
Yeah.
Number one in pressures last week. Pressure.
And that's the thing is, like, even with the Vikings game, he still showed out. The big problem for them has been their rushers and their new acquisition, Brian Burns, who everybody knows was a game breaker and one of the reasons why you should never ever pick Carolina to win, because he's no longer there. And everyone's favorite guy, Kayvon Thibodeaux, who have been disappointing in that week one. But I mean, if we're talking about like a get right game for them, if the Commanders play the same way they played against Tampa Bay, as far as the inconsistency with the offensive line, as far as Jayden Daniels just kind of taking off and not, look, I'll tell you right now, Kayvon and them boys, I don't want them touching Jayden
at all.
Like they got bad intentions. Okay, I don't want them fucking touch. And they're gonna have. And look, I'm saying, like, if we're looking at the matchup, Tampa Bay's a tough matchup for us, but this one's not easy at all. And I think people are overlooking it.
It's important to note that, and that's the reason we provided the context early on of the Giants are a laughingstock, but it's not necessarily what's true when it comes to this matchup. Brian Daboll's 3 wins, 1 tie in his 4 games as head coach against us. Now, I know we got Dan Quinn now, Joe Witt Jr. They've had some success from their Dallas days. This is new personnel. Dan Quinn's now the head coach instead of the defensive coordinator. And instead of being the secondaries coach, now Joe Witt is the defensive coordinator. So there are some differences there. That defensive line is no joke, especially when our offensive line can be a bit of a mixed bag. It's better than what the national media would say, but it's still, not the best, good. Right? So then all of a sudden you got Kayvon Thibodeaux, who always has great games against us. 5.5 sacks out of his 15.5 career against us. Then Brian Burns, who we know is a game breaker, they invested a lot in him, and they're expecting big things from him. He had an absent week 1. What do you think is going to happen week 2? He's definitely going to be revved up for this one. And Dexter Lawrence can be very disruptive. to KDot's point, it's important that we're able to run the ball. It slows down that rush. You get to hit them instead of them hitting you, and you become more balanced because we already know Cliff wants to throw as well. So you become more balanced. You can slow them down just a little bit. Jayden Daniels last week, the fastest release time out of anybody in the NFL, right? So that's going to help. But it also, like, you got to be able to slow down that defensive front. I got excited and highlighted what could be vulnerabilities, and KDot did too with the run game. But that defensive line is what we really need to take care of in this game.
And I think the thing is, like, you see the Sam Darnold pie chart. You see the throw chart. And Jayden's 101 of Jayden's 184 passing yards for 2 our running backs.
Sure, and you can pull it up if you'd like to. I mean, I believe you have it, right?
Oh yeah, it works. I knew that would be good.
Look at that. There you go.
Well, yeah. So a lot of short fucking passes, right? And if you look at that compared to like the Sam Darnold thing, which I'll pull up here, you're like, okay, maybe there's some similarities they'll be able to explore on something that he's comfortable with. And I'm like, overall, I'm like, yeah, I guess maybe, but that's not what I want to fucking say. So like he's got to throw the ball downfield. Like it's
one of his strengths.
And if even when we're talking about the All-22 thing, when I brought up the LSU stuff, I need to make sure that I didn't complete my thought. Not your fault or anything. I just didn't do it. He did work on it. He got better. So like the idea is that it's not like he just sat with him like, well, fuck you. I'm going to do what I need to do. He didn't Mike Vick it. Like he was like, no, I'll work on this. And he did. And if you look at it, he was one of the most prolific passes in the history of fucking college football. So like, he can do it. It's just a matter of like, look, the idea of a get right game for these Giants, as far as the Giants always playing up or down to whatever it is that we are, this is not a cakewalk by any means. And if they come out with the same performance they had against Tampa Bay, against this Giants team, you're in for a long day. It's much of a dumpster fire they are. Long term, whatever, with the Daniel Jones contract, all that kind of shit. They still have raw talent, and they got dudes that can break a game open if you're not playing as consistently as you need to.
Yeah, no, perfectly said there, KDot, and that's why we need to play to our quarterback's strengths, protect him, and be able to hit those deep shots. Because again, this secondary, they're still figuring it out for the New York Giants. A lot of new faces over there. You talk about miscommunications, you can get them potentially on that. You have a reaction to that. Go ahead.
When you said play to Jayden's strengths, I found it funny because my initial thought is they are.
Okay. In terms of sure. I mean, I guess the thing that enamored him to me, which was the deep ball accuracy.
He's just not doing. That's what I'm saying. They queued it up. He's just not. He is. This is what I need people to understand. He is choosing not to do it. It's his choice. He's very decisive.
Well, he better choose to do it this week, is what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Because here's the thing. If I'm the Giants, I'm going, let me take away Terry McLaurin. If he's lined up on the left, I go ahead and be my guest. Let's destroy that right side. I'm cool with it. They're going to say, let the other guys beat us. And I'm going, bet. I think we can do it against a very young, new secondary.
I say Tampa Bay's defense is better than New York's overall.
Yeah.
And they're definitely coached better so far. The jury's still out for New York. There was enough in that Tampa Bay game that it could have been a shootout.
I agree.
So
maybe we make a couple kicks. Oh, by the way, we cut Cade York and signed Austin Sabert. So
yeah. But my question: how do you let him know that? How do you let Jayden know? How do you teach Jayden? Hey, it might be in your interest to get sacked or to throw a pick here. How can you do that?
No, that's obviously the really tough part, right?
Right.
is getting a guy that is so supremely talented, and honestly, his instincts work, right? In the short term, it works, right? He's like, I'm seeing success. Why are you putting one arm behind my back? Right? Look, I'm Amit, 33 from DC. I don't have the answer to that. All right. That's what coaching's for. That's what Dan Quinn's for. That's what Cliff Kingsbury's for. Because, hey, if I'm him, I'm like, fuck it, I'm running. Of course I'm running. It's incredible.
But if I'm going to be completely honest, like, I get it worked in LSU and he did work on it. So, I mean, maybe somebody need to call up Brian Kelly. But I think that's the thing that scares me a little bit, is that the idea of like, hey man, it's working. Like I'm moving the ball down the field. And I told you guys this before the draft. It was like, look, when he sees a fucking lane, he sees the ability to make that play, he's gonna do it. And I have rarely seen anyone better than him do that.
Right. Okay. So here's how I would actually answer it. So if it's up to me, I think first off, you're setting expectations and you're going, hey, this year is all about your development. And actually, when you take off, we're considering that a negative, right? Because we're going to look on film and we're going to hammer you on Tell the Truth Mondays and say, hey, you should have thrown this. 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 I don't care if you throw a pick. We are not in it for the Super Bowl this year. We want to be well positioned for next year and the many years beyond that. And you are a quarterback. That's what we want you to do. I'll take the heat if you throw that. Don't worry about it. That's for me to take. Bill Belichick did this a lot with Ty Law in particular, where he would go, hey, sit here. And if he beats you, that's my bad. Don't worry about it. That's sort of what you
steal
want.
My Ty Law story.
What'd you say?
Did you steal my?
It's just me listening, buddy. It's just me listening to the code.
It was like you just
it officially becomes
like, yeah,
becomes district divided knowledge that we can pull from, right? It's called teamwork. Okay?
Yeah, I get it.
You're like Bill and Ty. That's what I would do. If I'm Cliff, or if I'm Dan, that's what I'm saying. It's my fault if you throw the pick. We want you to throw this stuff. Just throw it. Yeah. I think that's the best way to do it. It's ultimately up to him on the field, and Cliff says that a lot too. Ultimately, it's up to these guys.
And I think it could be a good thing, right? Like, rare enough do you have a situation where it's like, maybe you have a guy that doesn't need to necessarily learn from his mistakes in the sense of something terrible happening, as much as maybe he could just look at the film and be like, yeah, that guy was open. That guy was open. Maybe you need to do that. Maybe it's that simple. I don't know.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Got an entire season to unfold and plenty of pressers to listen to as well. KDot, any final thoughts here before we move on to the Giants offense against our defense?
Nope.
All right, cool. Well, let's go ahead and flip the script then. So for this, I think it's important that we're going to go through a couple more graphics here. So if we can look, KDot, at Baker Mayfield's graphic against us. So let's quickly review how Baker did it. Oh, would you look at that? And by the way, when you see a blue shot, that basically means touchdown. That does mean touchdown, right? You see four of them. Yep. You see two to the left, two to the right. Basically, the whole thing's open. Okay. And some of these are deep shots. Please note beyond plus 10. Okay. That's the thing I really want you guys to focus on, because if we go over to Daniel Jones' graphic, you're going to see that he threw it all over the place. And no, 22 of 42 for 186 yards and 2 picks is not a good day. We can all acknowledge that. However, given Mayfield's chart and how he was able to beat us just about wherever, Daniel Jones, KDot, if you could actually pull that up one more time, sorry, is that if you look at the 10 plus, he's got a lot of them. He's taking those shots that maybe we want Jayden Daniels to take, for example. And we know our secondary had communication issues. So knowing all of that, it becomes a bit of a scary matchup. And then we tweeted this from the District Divided account. And please follow us at District Divided. Here's Daniel Jones against us. He's got a 5-1-1 record. So this is his get right game, the definition of it. 11 total touchdowns, 3 picks, a 98 passer rating, 70% completion percentage. And these guys average 25 points a game. So this idea that the Giants are starting a Make-A-Wish kid at quarterback that just can't do anything against anybody is not true when it comes to playing against us. We know he's got the nickname Vanilla Vic that basically originated with us just existing and him doing whatever he wants to against us. So this is going to be a tough game. That's why the line is a 1.5. We'll get to it in the predictions. This is not going to be an easy game. Daniel Jones, the Giants are looking at us as their get right game too, KDot.
Yes. No doubt. But it's the thing is Daniel Jones has had his way with us in a lot of different ways. But you even look at last year, Giants went 2-0 against us, and that was Tommy DeVito and fucking Tyrod Taylor.
Yep.
Did it. So like
Brian Dable once again.
Right. So it's like it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna get into a debate on whether or not Daniel Jones is better than Tommy DeVito or Taylor. But I would say that like he's had, you saw the numbers. He has great success. I mean, and there's nothing worse to me than every game against us where he rips off that run. Like, it's just fucking aggravating is all get out. You know what? I want you guys to feel aggravated like me, so I'm going to show you a little bit of Daniel Jones running.
Second down, a long one. Jones keeps again. He was their leading rusher last week, and he is down the sideline, gets a block, touchdown.
Sad shit. I do like our throwbacks in that. Look, man, even when you look at this fucking chart, everything as far as they played like absolute dog shit last week, right? Like, it was all over the place. There was nothing they were doing of sustaining anything offensively. The running backs sucked. Look, the bright spot is Malik Nabers. Wendell Robinson in the slot is inconsistent as far as his catches. He's gonna be like 12 targets, 6 receptions, not Luke McCaffrey numbers. But for 44 yards. But I tell you right now, I go back to, if Washington wants to play defensively like they did against Tampa Bay, if you got Malik Nabers on your fantasy team, I'm feeling really fucking good about this week. Okay, like, that's what it comes down to. We're looking at game breakers, and the thing is, like, if you're not playing cohesive enough or consistently enough on defense, all it takes is the 1 or 2 to put you down, like, mad easy. Like, a busted coverage with a Malik Nabers is you're down by 7, like, quick, real quick. And that can happen. And, like, they've got to, like, you're looking at the defense and just looking at the X's and O's. The Giants have spent a lot of money, or have tried to do things to, like, revamp what it is on our offensive line. Mm-hmm. They're trying to get better in certain ways. They're, of course, not better with, like, missing a Saquon Barkley, but they're putting a lot on Daniel Jones to try to get shit done. And look, if there's any team that you would look at Daniel Jones and be like, that's the team that he gets his get right game. That's the team that makes you kind of say, oh, maybe the contract wasn't too bad. Like that, it's us. Like it's literally just us. So like that shit scares me. Like but if the defense, what they gave up 5 sacks last week.
Yes.
Finish defense. Like, there's no Florida heat. It's going to be a beautiful day in Landover, actually, to Sunday.
Right.
You got to fucking finish. You got to finish. Like, there's if you allow Daniel Jones to do that bullshit, to slip out and to throw the ball down for to slip out and run for 40 yards, you're going to lose.
The conditions are now optimal in our favor, right? So the New York Giants, their home opener, an absolute dud. People questioning whether Daniel Jones is the guy. And then on our end, we're playing in the Florida Heat. We now come home in much better conditions. You just played a game, so you got your legs under you now. I expect the defense to bounce back. When we talk about the Dan Quinn presser, he was visibly pissed off. I think he was quite surprised at how poorly that went, because I don't think he fashions himself a liar. And when you hear all the stuff they were talking about, and he even said doing hard shit with good people, and there was this sort of moment where he had a little laugh and he said, it's right now, and pounded his, finger and just fist on the table and was like, I'm sorry, guys. Like, I honestly thought we were ready and we weren't. And so now the home opener, there's a lot of pressure. And if we lose to Daniel Jones in the current perception of him, I mean, it's going to be very, very tough for this coaching staff in terms of everything they're saying and Commanders fans buying it. And this is a big moment for us. So let's go over to the predictions, KDot, where the over-under is 42.5. We are favored by 1.5 points in this game. So as always, KDot, you need a score, I need a winner, and I need a player of the game.
23-20. 23-20 command. That sounds very familiar. It's the same thing I said last week. Once again, I also think this game is going to be sloppy as shit. But I feel as though when you have teams that play so sloppily as both of us do, you can easily see a Jayden Daniels run for a touchdown and puts us up at a certain particular point in the game. I feel like the points might come in flurries. I'd like to see throughout the course of the game, maybe Washington be able to put together a few drives that are good, sustained, methodically move down the field. And if we can do that a couple times this game, to me, it's a step in the right direction and part of the overall journey for us. But I do think New York's a bit of a fucking mess. And I think this is the chance that you can really take advantage. I don't think it'll look as nice as we want it to, which will be disappointing. But I do think overall, looking at the games that they played week one, I know you're not supposed to take a whole lot out of it, but it feels as though they have a bit more carryover. There's a little more of a hangover on their end than it is on ours. I know that means maybe they try a little harder or whatever. I don't know. But I'm going to go 23-20, and just because of his running ability and just what he does all around, I'm going to say Jayden Daniels is your player of the game.
Okay. And I'll circle back to that in a moment. KDot, I really want this defense to bounce back. And there is a large part of me that does believe it will happen, but I got to see it first. So I've got the Giants 27. And so I think that they are going to score some points. I think Daniel Jones does see our uniforms and goes, man, it's good to be back. Right. And he just is able to do some of the stuff that he wants to do. I hope this is not the case. And I've got the Commanders 33. This is an overtime win. It is going to be a really close game. I think it gets crazy whenever we do beat the Giants. We've had so many close games with them in the past. 33-27 Commanders walk-off touchdown. I think Jayden Daniels is going to run it in. He's going to go pure instincts, find a way into the end zone, whip the crowd into an absolute frenzy. Like, it would be a pretty epic game, especially for a home opener for him in his debut. So, of course, player of the game. It's always going to be easy to say Jayden in victories, KDot. So I wanted you to highlight another player if you could.
Oh, well, fuck you. No,
Perfectly good answer, honestly.
All right. So if it's, then I want to go with one of the two running backs. I'm going to go Ekeler. I just think Ekeler showed me a little bit more. I think they'll probably feed him a bit more this game.
Okay, cool. So you're going Ekeler. I do think Luke could have a sneaky nice game, by the way. Not enough to be player of the game, just to be clear, but I think it's going to be Brian Robinson. I think it's long overdue for the guy to be player of the game. Last year, week 2, he was phenomenal at Denver. So I would go Brian Robinson if it's not Jayden Daniels. Let's go over and talk about a couple bets real quick, KDot. So our bet of the week, over to you.
I forgot something. God damn it.
Okay.
Are we doing it after the pod? I don't know. Maybe we'll see. We'll see. Okay. All right. The bet of the week. Now I know you guys were probably looking to give me money in the comments, and I never sent Amit the link. This will not be the case this week. All right, because we all want money. Okay. So I'm gonna go with a 3-legger, and I got it right here on the screen. Go. All right. Give me Jayden Daniels 50 rushing yards. The motherfucker loves running. I don't think that'll stop. Brian Robinson 25 yards that they easily got. Once again, they gave up, what was it? 6.7 yards a carry. And then gave me my man Ekeler, who I had as player of the game since he wouldn't allow me to take Jayden. And that was 25 combined rushing and receiving yards. I think that's easily gettable, maybe in a couple chunk plays, and then we're sitting pretty plus 180. Those lines are probably going to change. I think the numbers will probably get low, so get on that shit. Get on the shit now.
There you go. I think that's a really, not only reasonable parlay, I would expect that to hit. So I think you've crafted a really good one there, KDot. Mine is simple. It's one person, and we were talking about it with the Sam Darnold chart and how they were abusing the right side. I think we do take a deep shot. I think he finds the end zone. Give me Dyami Brown anytime touchdown scorer. It's plus 800. So, if you want to throw a flyer on it, that's what I'm planning on doing. I mean, I think it's there. Okay, well, so there you go. So Dyami Brown plus 800 anytime touchdown. I think it's very much in play this week, considering what we saw in week 1 for the Giants and considering what we didn't see in week 1 for the Commanders. I think they go, you know what? Let's dial up a couple shots. I think he gets one of them. I think he finds the end zone. So that's the bet of the week.
They had them dialed up. He just didn't do it.
So maybe he does it this time.
Well, I'm being a little too harsh on Jayden. I truly am. It's just like, I don't know, man. I like seeing him run, but I don't like seeing him run.
It's electric to see him. We can acknowledge that it's fun to see him run, and also we know we need less of it. How about that?
I think I heard somebody said that I forget what it was, but they were a fan of the way that he felt. You said that you were a fan of the way that he got down.
And Rex Ryan said so too. That diving at their feet actually protects him more because then the defender tends to jump instead of jumping into the person.
I like what Rex Ryan's saying. That's not what he's doing.
Right, fair enough.
Like, I get it. I can understand a slide is kind of dangerous now. I get it. Yeah, dive at their feet, but it goes back to my story as far as talking to running backs and Jerome Bettis on learning how to fall.
Yeah.
That's not what he's doing. He is very chaotically, and once again, calm chaos. He doesn't look to be too upset about it, but like, dude, it's got to look more form than that, bro.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. So on to the comment mailbag, who, of course, it's always introduced by one
Nicky. Oh shit. You know what? And no matter, here's the thing. This a little so maybe this is the gods doing this. I did not like what the real Nicky had to say over the course of last week about the Super Bowl and Lamar shit.
Oh, that's fair.
So I just want everybody to know, if you're down with like hip hop culture stuff, I get it. Remember, this is not Nicky. This is our version of Nicky.
That's correct.
Different Nicky. So she likes KDot.
Comment mailbag time, motherfuckers. The district divided, ain't got time for no suckers. Spread the word, get in line. OGs and new G's, it's your time. And spread the gospel, cause this shit is divine. Yeah.
Thank you, our version of
Nicky. For a second. I want to derail some shit. All right, so,
go ahead.
So my thing was that, so like we have the introduction to comment mailbag. The all 22 is going to be a thing. So I was workshopping something.
Oh,
I don't have a video yet, but I got a song. We can actually talk over it, but it's like a little jingle. I just want to play the jingle. I want to hear the thoughts about the jingle. Okay?
Play the jingle.
Oh shit. God damn it.
It's the all 22.
I was going to say, this makes more sense.
Divided bitches.
I love it.
Just saying.
I love it.
There we go.
I love it. All right,
Switch
cool.
it out.
So that's going to happen. We got a number of comments. We're just going to go ahead and jump right into them, beginning with Cody Rind with a couple comments, but the first one we got to read and shout out. KDot has me crying at 7 a.m. on that sliding video. Needed that for work today. And there it is one more time. That is Jayden Daniels sliding, according to KDot. And honestly, there were a couple moments where it looked kind of like that. So that's the first comment from Cody Rind. And here's the second one. This was the most Washington loss to open the season. Missed field goals and DBs getting torched. What frustrated me the most were these four things. 1, the third down conversions and the 4 flags on us on third downs.
Yep.
2, 80,000 missed sacks, making Baker look like Vanilla Vic. 3, Benjamin St. Juste never turning his fucking head around. 4, the goddamn kicker. I know it's the first game of the new era, and I'm still trying to be optimistic, but I have PTSD from our past, and today they look just like it. I thought we had some dogs on this team, but no one played like it, and I didn't see that violent energy we were promised. There 2 thumbs up on that comment. Once again, Cade York now gone. I was under the impression last week that we had already given the 7th round pick to Cleveland, so I was like, all right, well, you've already paid it. Give him some time. Turns out if he had played this one, we would have given the 7th rounder. So we actually keep it because we let him go. Getting Austin Seibert.
Shout out to Moose. He had that fun fact during the game.
Thank goodness for Moose. And KDot, your reaction.
Yeah, I think that this is, once again, ain't nobody going to take me off my hottest. Yeah. But, yeah, if you are a pessimistic Commanders fan, or cynical Commanders fan, which, trust me, you got all the reason in the world to be over the course of these many years. This particular game, if you're not doing the full breakdown, if you're not giving benefit of the doubt, if you don't believe in certain aspects of the culture, yeah, it hit all the notes of bad. Like it just, like, in the sense of everything that we've been hyping up as far as like this coaching staff and these defensive guys and their communication, and that our takeaway from out of the game is the defensive backs weren't communicating properly. Doesn't feel good. Everyone knew the kicking situation was bad, and it's like, or we carried it right over into the regular season, right? I can understand the cynicism a lot. I get it. This was a particular bad way to lose against Tampa Bay. But I'll tell you, like, if you just spend a little more time, like, really digging into what I did with, like, the All-22 made me feel really good about certain things and not so good about other things, but also knowing that, like, if I have any faith in this coaching staff, the things that I saw that concerned me, I think will get better in time. It can never happen overnight.
Perfectly said. No notes, KDot. I completely agree with you. We go over to Peter McDaniel. Shout out, Peter McDaniel. Thank God we didn't show any of our playbook in the preseason. We really had Tampa guessing. That is the comment from Peter McDaniel, which, of course, we saw a lot of short passes against Miami. We saw a couple of the screens against the Jets in preseason. And then, of course, a lot of it looked kind of similar against Tampa. So you can, of course, detect the sarcasm over there from Peter McDaniel. KDot, of course, went through the All-22, saw some other stuff besides just the stuff that we saw in preseason, where it was quite intentional of like, hey, get Jayden into rhythm, and we're not even looking downfield. So anyway, anything to add there, KDot?
Yeah, it's just, look, yes, they held on to some plays that I saw was like, what the fuck is that? Like during this game. They just weren't executed. And I think the biggest issue with it was, like I said, because of Jayden's feet, because of the lack of success that you had in early downs, because of the shooting ourselves in the foot at certain points of the game, it was extremely hard for them to have anything consistently and for Cliff to put together a few plays to get us in a rhythm. It started happening at certain points later on in the game. Whether or not it was more like Cliff or the defense kind of changed up things, so you could totally see the defense did change up some stuff. Maybe a combination of all of it. But I'm telling you that there are some really interesting things happening as far as the Cliff playbook stuff. It's just a matter of like how it is he's going to piece it together.
All right. And then we go over to Tony.
Tony.
Shout out Tony Peters. Perfect pod for my Monday morning commute. Thanks, guys. What was the game plan? Terry was out there running cardio. We need to feed Terry and hit McCaffrey on quick routes from the slot like the snow bunny receiver he is. Hope they left Forbes in Tampa. That is the first comment. There are a couple more, so I'm going to read those, and then we'll get to answering them. Then, get the slip and slide out for Jayden Daniels. Y'all notice he didn't have his mouthpiece in on some plays? In high school, our QB didn't have his mouthpiece in, got hit, and broke his teeth. Fix it, Jayden. And the third one. If we're being honest, other than 17 occasionally, can our receivers separate? It's another question, KDot. Over to you.
Once again, there were some situations where you look at the All-22 as far as the separation stuff, and it was, I don't think they completed the route. I don't think that they were, for some of the stuff that didn't look like separation. Then the other cases, I'm telling you, if you watch the tape, they are open. Now, I think that what you're going to end up saying, all right, here's the other thing. I was listening to somebody talk about this when it came to Caleb, I think. There's between like NFL open. Is a thing. They were NFL open. They were, if you trust your ability to throw the football, if you trust what it is you read, and you trust the ability of the receiver to go make a play, they're open. Basically, if Baker Mayfield would have had a pretty good passing day if he was playing for us in that game.
See. No, well said. And another thing that I really enjoyed about Jayden relative to other QBs coming out of college is that I thought he made more of those NFL open throws than other people did. Now, he had Malik Nabers and he had Brian Thomas, so most of the throws, they're open. I get that. But I do think that he made a lot of those. 1-2 Malik against Alabama. And then again, the shot to Dyami Brown against the Jets, that's NFL open, and he threw it in a perfect spot for Dyami to make a play on that.
I think it was just Todd Bowles was in his fucking face.
That's my thing. I think he looked sped up. And was probably like, man,
it's not look sped up. He sped up.
And I think that was probably part of the Todd Bowles plan. Is like, you know what? You can give him a little bit of this, but we need him to play faster than he wants to. It's going to make it much easier for the rest of us. That's my thought, but we'll see what it ends up being. Let's go over to, oh, you know what? Here's this. Coach Lombard replied to Tony saying Curtis Samuel was the other one, which brings us to Jim Sleazy, who last week, KDot, you had said that Curtis Samuel's contract was a non-starter. And Jim Sleazy replied saying salary is not the fan base's concern. For Dot to use that against Curtis is insincere. What's worse is that they're $27 million under the salary cap, so money isn't an issue of putting the best talent possible on the field. So, Kid, I want to throw it back over to you because I think I know where you were going with that comment about Curtis Samuel, but just for Jim Sleazy.
I want you to. What do you think I was going with it?
Well, okay, so my thinking on that is that, yes, we do have the cap room to be able to hold on to a Curtis Samuel, but I also think that they wanted new guys in the building. I think it opens the door for Luke McCaffrey getting repetitions. That's where I thought you were going with it, is we're getting more of Adam Peters guys, if you will, and that they can separate. And it sounds like they did separate. And it does come down to Jayden Daniels just making those throws. So that's where I thought it was like more reps for other people, specifically new guys. That's what I was thinking, because there is that implicit cost. It's not just the contract. It's that Curtis Samuel's the one here. He's consistently hurt, dude. He's hurt now. Like, that's just part of it for me.
This is why I wanted you to do this. You nailed it. You fucking nailed it. You nailed it in a way in which I would never have been able to do it because I want to curse out Jim Sleazy, and I'm going to do it anyway. You're the motherfucker that went ahead and had a comment about how it is that it wasn't EB's fault, and it was Sam Howell's fault about the way that the offense was. I remember that, Jim. If you have some sort of nostalgic fucking feeling about the Eric Bieniemy fucking offense and the team and the unit that was there, I'm sorry. Be alone on your fucking island about that shit. I ain't with you. I don't think a lot of people are with you with that. Look, Curtis Samuel, I have nothing against the dude, but like Ahmed said, it just didn't fit in what it is that we were going to be doing. And I still cannot wrap my head. Jim, every time you drop a comment, I'm still going to remember. Sorry, our offense's main problem was Sam. EB had little to work with. Fuck you.
For what it's worth, I thought it was a good question. Good discourse all around. Anyway, I appreciate the comment.
I don't like being called insincere. I'm sincere. That's from something.
No, I think it was a good discourse, right? Like, hey, we did have the money. Why not bring a Curtis Samuel back? I thought it was fair. I understand where you're coming from.
Everybody, like, I get the idea of Curtis Samuel and the amount of targets he had in the fucking offense last year, but it was a problem. Like, he had 90-something targets last year, and he shouldn't have. What did the offense produce at the end of the fucking year? They were throwing the ball 60 times a game.
No, that's true. So, and they're obviously I'm on your side, KDot, right? Like, we talked about telegraphing the run. We talked about and you could see Sam Howell's confidence over time because he started off well. And then over time, we talk about Jayden feeling sped up because he played against a Todd Bowles defense. Perfectly good reason to feel sped up in your NFL debut on the road. Sam was sped up tremendously at the end, or seeing ghosts, like you name it, he saw it. Like, it was really tough for him down the stretch because I think he got let down by the OC. That's how I feel about it, and that ended up being the result. We'll see how Cliff does.
And Jim, it is nothing personal. This feels as though like I'm watching a game with you and we were screaming at each other. Like, this is just what boys do. All right, it's what we do. All right.
So Jim, if you want to curse him out now, it is love.
Feel free. That's the point.
Yeah. We go over to Coach Lombard. Daniel Jones sucks. If the Giants are starting him next week, they're cooked. KDot, I'll give you a moment here. Would you mind pulling back up the tweet about Daniel Jones against the Washington Commanders? Could we see that one more time? Again, 5-1-1 record against us, 11 touchdowns, 3 picks, 98 passer rating, 70% completion. They average 25 a game. The Daniel Jones sucks stuff, sure. Maybe it's real for the rest of the league. It's not real for us. I just want to make that clear one more time. Get out your reaction.
Yeah, I was just going to say, mutually exclusive. He can absolutely suck. It just means we suck harder.
Yeah.
It's like, we might be in that territory to some degree when it comes to him.
No, this is a huge game. This is a huge game.
Yeah, it's a game. I like at the end of the day, I stand pat in this. If it wasn't for the Commanders, the Giants are not in the situation they are in with Daniel Jones in this contract.
That's also true.
So,
that is also true. You can thank us and you can thank the Minnesota Vikings. Those are the two teams you can thank for that. Coach Lombard had a couple others. My question for you guys is this: did Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. coach a top 5 defense in Dallas because they are great coaches, or because Jerry gave them blue chip pass rushers and blue chip corners? Is the question. KDot, I'll throw it to you and then I'll answer.
I would say that they gave him one true blue chipper and Parsons, no doubt.
What about Diggs?
I think Diggs was I don't know if Diggs gets to the level that Diggs is at without the coaching that he received.
And I would say the same thing about Daron Bland, who set the league on fire last season. And I think that comes down to coaching. And when you look at Joe Witt's track record, he's been good everywhere he's gone. He spent a lot of time in Green Bay. He did well over there. And then you look at Dan Quinn, dude. I mean, Seattle, Atlanta, it was fine. It could have been better. He was head coach versus defensive coordinator, but they had a couple nice years on defense. I don't think this is it's always going to be a bit of both. I mean, if you give them just really bad players, no, it don't matter who you are. Like, if you give them me and KDot, like, yeah, we're going to get torched. It doesn't matter how much coaching you do if the two of us are in our secondary all of a sudden. But I don't think that's the case over here. I think they're working through it. It's the first week.
My thing is, I don't think on paper anybody went into the season thinking that Diggs or Bland were the guys that they were. I think Parsons was always a dude, right? So, like, if we're looking at that sort of sense, do I think that we have the same caliber of dudes on this team? Probably not. But I think Parsons, in my opinion, is arguably the best defensive player in the league. So,
yeah, you can certainly make the case. He's consistently top 3 in defensive player of the year voting. And then Coach Lombard, one more. Sacks allowed, pass breakups, and interceptions. This was, again, in reference to Brandon Coleman. This was, I believe, Andrew Wiley or Cornelius Lucas. This was Emmanuel Forbes. This was St. Just. The player props, the betting props. Would you put any on sacks allowed, pass breakups, and picks? I'm not going to do it off the top of my head right now, but it's something I can think about for later.
What fucking book are you using, Coach? It seemed like they got props. Did I need some?
No, I think they want the District Divided Sportsbook to open up. It's sort of the.
I ain't doing that.
Yeah. All right, cool. We go over to the Nathan Perry. Shout out Nathan and Ref the District, who run an absolutely stellar podcast. Check them out if you haven't. On the short passing game, Jayden Daniels' average time to throw was 2.35 seconds. Despite both the playing the short game and getting the ball out quickly, Jayden was pressured on nearly 40% of his dropbacks. That's according to Next Gen Stats. How concerning will this be going forward? Being pressured on nearly 40%. KDot.
And that goes back to what I was talking about when it came to like the all 22. I don't even know what they consider a pressure any fucking more. Like, I don't even know. Like, to me, does a pressure mean there's more than 4 guys coming? Period. Is that a pressure? There were moments I still go back to, like, if I'm looking at like average time to throw, that's just how long it took for him to throw. Doesn't mean he had to take that. It could have mean he could have taken longer to throw in order to do that. Like, from what I understand that number meaning. Yeah, to me, there was more time on certain plays that would have absolutely driven that average up a bit. And I would have liked to see it. I do think Todd Bowles brought a lot of shit, but I also think that if he had worked through his progressions and not be so quick with his decision making, sounds so stupid to criticize. They're not blitzing as much.
Yeah. So here's what I would say, Nathan, is that how concerning will this be going forward? Joe Witt said this too. Now, this was in reference to the defense and the miscommunications. Like, hey, if we keep screwing that up, we're going to keep seeing it from other teams. When it comes to this, you might see teams try and blitz more and maybe go, okay, Jayden's instincts are going to kick in. He's going to get some yards here and there, but ultimately he's going to feel sped up in the red zone. It's not going to go very well for them. That could be a thought. It could be. So could it be a concern going forward? Yes. Right. If I'm a defensive coordinator, it's probably something I'm considering. I want a young guy to feel sped up. Absolutely.
It's not a thought. It's literally the way defenses have always run, right? If you see even when you're playing fantasy football, you're streaming defenses. If you got a defense that likes to blitz coming up against a rookie quarterback, what's going to happen?
Oh, I mean, it's not going to go well. That was always our plan.
But I'm just saying, as far as the game plan, right? Blitz the shit out of them. Yeah. Let them beat us before we get a look. Like, if we're blitzing and it's working overall, and you look at the score, why are you stopping that?
Right. And I think this is where we do also have the opportunity, KDot, to go, you know what? Yeah, scramble. But keep your eyes up, right? And see what you can, because you just beat everybody. You were the best athlete on the field. You just beat everybody. Can you give us an extra second and keep those eyes downfield for someone to make a play? And that also takes some chemistry, right? You see, Kelsey and Mahomes are the absolute best at it. They've been playing together for years too, right? So as Terry plays with Jayden, as Luke, I'm actually quite excited about Luke when we talk about them watching film together in the early mornings, having breakfast together early mornings. Do they have some chemistry when it comes to this type of thing? Sort of a Cup Stafford type thing. They could over time. They're both rookies. So is it concerning moving forward? Yeah, I think it will be, but I also think that they will be able to remedy it over time as well.
What I'd do if I was Jayden personally, and trust me, I'm far from being fucking Jayden. I'd put a shot collar on me that if I ran past the line of scrimmage before 5 seconds of snap, I'd just get electrocuted like on the fucking field.
So if you're Jayden, that's what you would do?
I would have, because the thing is, like, you have to kill you. There's a part of you that doesn't want to kill the instinct. It's great, but a party has to kill a little bit of the instinct.
How about we just have a blowhorn and we just blast that instead of shocking our franchise quarterback?
Well, once again, I said that I would do it to myself if I was him.
Okay, well, yeah.
I'm not for them. No, if you think me is going to be in line of an NFL franchise putting a shot collar on a black fucking athlete, no, sir. I'm not for that. But I said for me, but sometimes I need a little bit of pain to understand things.
We go over to Earl Bruce. Shout out Earl Bruce.
I'm in therapy.
It's impossible to fix all of the holes they have in one off season. So despite the hype of the new, I see the Manders as a 7-win team. Think of them as an expansion team with a 60% personnel turnover. That's what they are. So everyone chill out and strap in for a bumpy season. I'm happy if they finish with 7 wins because they were 4-13 last year. The offense has to pound the rock on the ground. That solves a number of problems. Defensively, oh boy, those corners look bad. If the D-line can keep up the pressure and finish, that will help the corners. KDot, your reaction?
Yeah, no doubt. I wish I could have the full-blown mentality of us just being an expansion franchise because it feels kind of like that. But it doesn't feel that way. Because look, I'm sorry, none of us are going to forget the traumas of which we've endured over the course of the last how many decades.
Correct.
With this bullshit. But yeah, that is the way that we should be. That's the goal that should be in all of our minds to get to. And I understand, once again, people's cynicism with not wanting to give them that much benefit of the doubt because their hearts have been in this for too long and it's hurt them for too long.
Yeah. I think we're going to learn a lot more about this team this week and next week than we are from week 1. Again, crazy things happened in week 1. We went down to Florida. It felt like 102 at kickoff, felt like 99 in the second half. Players were visibly gassed. They got their legs under them. I think this is where you learn about them. Are they still gassed? That's a problem, right? Now we're at home. We're not playing in that temperature. Is that going to be an issue? Is Jayden still taking off every single time and we're leaving points on the table? That would be an issue. I think this week is the week we find out a lot more about the team. And next week when we go to Cincinnati, because again, the weather won't be the issue and week 1 won't be the issue. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm not suddenly throwing everything away. We go over to Big Papa Grizzly. Shout out. This is the reason why I enjoy watching you guys so much. An absolute fair, no smoke blown analysis of our favorite team. If District Divided isn't your first stop as soon as they drop, what are you even doing? Hashtag raise hail. Hashtag share this shit. Love the comment there, Big Papa Grizzly. Appreciate it. KDot?
I feel like if we lose against the Giants, I might be so don't follow me into wherever. Look, I'm gonna be even keeled about this entire season. So I appreciate you saying that I'm gonna try to call it as I see it, but I do think I'm gonna just a little self inventory. I can understand in certain circumstances. I'm gonna try to be as critical as I possibly can be, but it's really hard because my leash is so fucking long with this team.
Yeah, that's fair. You've always had a long approach. So I think Big Papa Chris has been around long enough to remember that when KDot wants to build his team. He wants the front office. He wants the other guys around the front office to be there. And he would give his coach 5 years and give the full 5 years, right? So he's much more long-term thinking than a lot of the fans, right? Myself included. I could be an instant gratification person for sure. I walked right into that. I recognize that I'm going to be better because that wrote itself.
I can't make jokes anymore.
I know. That wrote itself. I'm so sorry. That's all me. We go over to Big Papa Grizzly one more time.
All right, pull the curtain back. Guys, literally, this man sends me a text saying, oh, we might not be able to record at the time of the early record because my mouth is numb.
Okay, can I say why?
I'm like, really?
Can I say why?
Really?
Because I had a deep dental cleaning. I did. And a few hours prior, I legitimately thought that my nerve was off, and I was like, this is it. I can never speak again. The pod is over. At least I'm out.
Columbia?
Yeah.
Bolivia?
It was done in the District of Columbia, I'll tell you that much. We go over to Big Papa Grizzly one more time. Shout out. So I was wrong. Well, I didn't hate what I saw from Jayden Daniels. I said what I said about B-Rob. He is him. I'm excited to see how Ekeler's role expands. The defense flashed at times. I saw the good underneath that trash they put out there on Sunday. I'm right there with you, KDot. Nobody is going to bring me down from the high I'm on right now. There you go. It's not A-train level, but I'm feeling good.
That's where you need it.
That is a perfect comment,
baby.
and that is a perfect place to be. Yeah, not A-train level, but feeling good. Big Papa, you crushed it with those two. Shout out. And we conclude with Jess Santo.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out, Jess Santo. I got my water here just in case. The Washington Commanders started their season off with a thunderous thud. The fan base is up in arms. There is hysteria in the streets, and the sky is falling. Nothing has changed. Correction. Everything has changed. And that's why they lost. It's a brand new team from top to bottom who played a playoff team with a ton of continuity. This team will progress week to week as they build their own continuity. Here are my takeaways. Number one, Jayden looked good, composed, energetic, and was even joking with the DBs. Was not a fan of the up the gut runs. He doesn't slide, he battle rolls, and they are beautiful. Number two, that was a legitimate wheeze from KDot you got there. Congrats there, Jess. Number two, Robinson and Ekeler are going to be an excellent tandem. Number three, the tackling was horrendous. Let's keep it a buck. It will be cleaned up. Number four, the defense was caught off guard, but there wasn't mass confusion in the secondary like we saw with the previous regime. Number five, I think they are going to have to use a lot more two tight end sets. It would ease Daniels into the games, provide more protection, and create easier targets in the center of the field. Number six, new kicker again. Number seven, O-line was decent. Pressure, but not a ton of penalties or terrible sacks. Number eight, it's so refreshing hearing Dan Quinn speak after the loss. He acknowledges where the issues are and has a direct plan on how to correct them. No, we'll get better. Or need to look at the tape and then not explain shit. Next up, the Vagiants. Keep Daniels upright and give Jones hail. Beat them with the run game and hit them in the mouth. They have a pass rush defense. They are not run stuffers. Love the show. Share this shit. That is the latest comment from Jasanto. KDot, your reaction.
Onward and upward.
Onward and upward. Beautifully written. Optimism. This is still the time to be optimistic, everybody. Again, yes, everything is new, but there were enough positives to take away where you can go, hey, at the end of the day, we're 0-1, and there's a lot of season left. So here we go. This was the show. This was District Divided, a DC sports podcast, more specifically, a Washington Commanders podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. I am Amit. That is KDot. And if you enjoyed the episode, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, comment as you always do. A fantastic comment mailbag today. Yes, even you, Jim Sleazy, and KDot.
Click the link in the description and give me my money. All right, share the shit.
Yeah, please do. Okay, and share this shit. We greatly appreciate it. Click the link as well. After the pod, we can do a quick one. Begins right now.
All right, I wasn't expecting it, so yeah, that works.
There we go. So week 1, you're feeling good about your predictions. I remember we were talking about that a little bit for the season-long predictions across the NFL. Walk me through what you're feeling good about.
All right. I was right about Joe Burrow.
So far,
I don't think there's any denying. Remember, I just said he's hurt.
You did say that.
I've been saying I'm like, he's still hurt. Then I see the video of him trying to pick up a Gatorade bottle on the sideline. I'm like, yep.
So I thought him actually picking up the bottle was a good thing, the way he did it. But he was doing this a lot during the game, and I was
He's
like,
in pain.
oh,
But that's the way he picked up the Gatorade bottle is clearly I can't rotate my wrist the way I want to. I need to do it the best way I can to do that. Like he's just being gingerly. It was just it was an awkward way of doing it. Yeah. So yeah, it doesn't make me feel good to be right about Joe Burrow being hurt. I mean, I love Joe.
I know. Yeah.
Other things. I'm not worried about the Jets. This is all part of the process. They have to overcome Nathaniel Hackett. I'll leave it at that. The Falcons. So I stand firm that I think Pittsburgh defense at the end of the season is going to be the best defense in the league. And I think what you saw was Pittsburgh taking it to Atlanta. The issue with Atlanta, to me, at this point, the only thing that has me slightly panicking, at least I'm not going to say panicking, slightly worried about my side piece team, is Kirk's still hurt. There is, look, the entire point of what it is they're doing there is they were trying to install a Sean McVay-like offense to what it is they have in Atlanta. And one of the biggest tenets of that offense is to be able to play action and to bootleg. And if you are a 36-year-old man with a hurt Achilles, as I was even last year, I could barely walk in the mall, let alone run a fucking bootleg, right? So, like, if he can't do that, I don't know what you're supposed to do with the offense. like if he can't, I don't know what you do because there's no other. You're gonna install another thing. Like I don't get that. And then the other part of it is like, even if they wanted to go with Penix, he ain't a big bootleg guy. Like he's not.
Yeah,
so
he
like,
throws a beautiful ball though. I got a lot of faith in Penix. He was my number 2 guy coming out of college.
No doubt. But I'm saying the way that the offense itself is supposed to be run, at least what made me high on them was like, wow, they have the weapons that could actually do this as far as in the levels and what it is. They can do a play action with Bijan and Tyler Algier there in the backfield, right? Like that's special. But if they cannot go to what it is, the form of the offense is, if they can't play action and do bootleg in a way that then you've severely crippled what's going to work in the offense as far as the flow.
Right.
So that is absolutely concerning. But the only thing that I can think is like, if this is what it's going to be and Kirk is still a little bit of ways away, to just feed the fuck out of Bijan. So maybe that's a good thing overall. Okay. I feel really good about my Carolina prediction.
3rd place in the NFC South?
They will be last place.
Your prediction was 3rd.
Huh? Oh, right. Sorry. Yeah, you're right. Maybe. Fuck.
I'll take over on this one. So, guys, look.
Carolina
I picked the Carolina Panthers because I said something's brewing in Carolina. Did I not? And so obviously I've been looking for reasons for optimism. And I'm not going to lie. There is none. You look anywhere and Mark Schlereth commentated the game and started a new show called Breakfast Ball that's on FS1. And they do this segment where they say, like, this is the truth, basically. Like, here's the truth, or something along those lines. I can't remember. And his truth was Bryce Young is not an NFL quarterback. That's what he said. He's like, hey, saw the game. He's not him. He's not even close to him. They also, remember when we had the waiver claim pick 2? Mm-hmm. And the rule is you can claim as many guys as you'd like, but then you need to make cuts appropriately. Yeah, so the Panthers made 5 of those, and they're all starters. Wasn't exactly expecting that to be the case, so not great. Derek Brown, now out for the season. Things are not looking good for my side piece team, but you know what I don't do, guys? Overreact to week 1. Plenty of season left. Bryce,
It's
Hey.
not an overreaction to week 1. It's a why'd you think this?
Bryce plenty of time. Oh, tell you what. I did look at the PFF scores for the interior of the line. They look good. Satter looked good.
Carolina?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay,
So
okay.
those reasons were correct. Bryce Young looks terrified. So he needs to figure it out because a lot of it was Bryce will now have the time to do it. And then the QB school comes out with JT O'Sullivan. He runs a really nice YouTube
he's
channel.
great.
You guys should check it out. Yeah, not good. not good for Bryce. So I'm hoping he pulls it off because, of course, my ego is like, I better be right about this. But everything's against me right now. I'm just going to keep it a buck with you. Not a good start for my Carolina Panthers.
Rapid fire around the league. Things that I'm just watching are things that I'm finding highly entertaining and things that I've been pretty right about and I think we'll continue to be right about. Bo Nix is going to be fun to watch. I don't think I ever said that he was going to be good. I did think that they're going to have fun in Denver and they're going to throw it a lot.
Define fun. That's fun. Just throwing
entertaining as shit.
Okay? Were we fun when we were throwing 60 times a game?
No. But we weren't chaos like that.
Oh, okay, fair.
Like it's when you're watching Red Zone and Jameis Winston is throwing the football. And you're like, I got to turn that game on. I'm gonna watch. The biggest person along those lines, but it's chaos good right now is Anthony Richardson.
Oh my Lord. That throw he made to Alec Pierce.
I've said it since last year. Anthony, there's never been a better NFL red zone quarterback or player than Anthony Richardson.
That throw was nuts. He slipped.
If you watch his highlights, they are insane. If you have to watch him throughout the course of the whole game, you're like, what the fuck is going on, bro? You're like, but I would say, all right, this is my hot take. There has never been a more physically gifted quarterback in the history of the NFL than Anthony Richardson.
The one of the names that came to mind to me was Jamarcus Russell, but he wasn't as fast as Anthony Richardson. And again, that ball that Richardson threw, where he didn't even step into it, I think you've got a very strong case.
I've never seen this. This is like Cam Newton if he took steroids. Like it's something else. Like Richardson is he's different. Like I'm telling you, man, if he can put it together.
By the way, if he can put it together, man, you get Indy, Kansas City. Like, I mean, it'd be cool. It would be really, really cool. I don't know that he will because it is a lot that he's a very raw prospect and he did not get all the opportunities to play last season due to injury, but it would be awesome if he did. It would be cool if he did. Oh my gosh. I mean,
this dude, he's insane. But also I was talking to somebody on the phone about this and I was like, you need to look, there's bad quarterback play happening right now. No doubt. But you have to understand that there's levels to bad quarterback playing. And this is the best we're going to get. The idea that on a Sunday, I have Will Levis, Bo Nix, and Anthony Richardson, who's not bad, but chaotic, throwing the fucking ball around. This is so good. The amount of fucking highlights or lowlights you're going to see are insane. Like take advantage. And then it's only a matter of time before the god of this particular type of game, Jameis Winston, is starting in Cleveland. And when they're all starting together, like
should be on Jameis watch.
That is insane. Like it's just so chaotically bad. It's fucking great, man. I love this shit. I hate boring bad quarterback. I threw it up for no reason whatsoever.
Oh, Bo Nix is gonna be great for you then.
I'm sorry. But and look, the thing is, like, Bo Nix did not look good week 1. But once again, week 1 shit. He did look good during preseason, and I know Sean Payton really loves him.
Yeah, of course.
And I don't like Sean Payton, but
it's all good and fine. I've seen what I need to see.
I have not. I need to see more of it. Oh, and also, I love my Super Bowl pick. I mean, I was always going to love it.
Well, of course.
There's no point and even with Puka Nacua going down is when I'm in chat. Hope speedy recovery.
Go ahead.
Jordan Whittington. I keep saying his name. Say it again.
You have.
Just want y'all to remember.
It's opening up a little bit. Yeah, it's opening up a little bit. I was so confused in fantasy drafts when Puka Nacua was going ahead of Cooper Kupp, like by a significant amount. You can't just. What'd you say?
Everybody going into this season thought Cooper was still hurt, and he's just old now.
there's something about their chemistry, and he could still end up getting hurt. Yeah. So for me, I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like even doing this pod, you begin to weigh chemistry a hell of a lot more. I don't know. And so like when I saw it, I was like, I don't necessarily want to touch Puka Nacua because I think there's every chance in the world Cooper becomes the guy again. And Puka becomes a very strong number 2 option. We'll see. I mean, Puka's now hurt, but so it's a bit unfair at this point. Cooper's obviously the number 1 again. And I would love if Stafford and Kupp get back to what they were doing their Super Bowl year, because that was a joy to watch. Like just how cerebral the game was played for them. And Cooper reads it like a quarterback. Like they talk about it, where he can just see how a defense's lineup got it. If I sit here, I'm getting the ball. And he's right every time.
He's a safety valve that has A level talent. You can't get better.
Unreal. It is absolutely unreal. So yeah, I think your Rams Chiefs is looking real nice right now. Jordan Love got hurt, so I'm a bit worried about the Packers. But it's been one week.
I get to see Malik Willis throw the football too. This is great. It's like from a chaos standpoint, people just these are good times. Unless you're actually rooting for one of these teams, it's great times.
That's true. That's an excellent disclaimer. Unless you're rooting for one of these teams.
Unless you're one of your teams. This is great.
Yeah.
This is like when Red Zone, when Scott's like, let's go to Cleveland. It's a pick 6 or some shit.
Yeah, and Deshaun's on the screen. You're like, oh boy.
It's like, this is love this shit. Love it.
Oh man. Well, that's gonna wrap up the show. We appreciate you guys for listening. Watch Red Zone. Yeah, make sure you have Red Zone on with all these quarterbacks that KDot's highlighted, and you will have a great
if the Commanders aren't playing, what other option is there? You have to be watching Red Zone.
Honestly, a fair point.
I get some people like to watch like the flow of the game. I call those people lame. Thank God bless Scott Hansen. All right, I think that's it. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, can't say anything controversial. So
In DC, we're just hoping that you listen.